Alright, for our third portion of the screencast and creating an iOS app, we are going to create an RSS feed. And like our presentation, RSS feeds are basically a good way to pull data from the internet, specifically your website, assuming you're going to create this app for your school district. And what it does is our app is going to pull that RSS feed and put it into a screen here or a layout. So what we're going to do is create another table view controller. Drag it over here. So this is going to be a table of items from your RSS feed. Okay. Similar to our contact view, we are going to create an identifier for each cell, or a reuse identifier for each cell, and we're going to call it the Apple cell, because we're going to pull from Apple's RSS feeds. And our style for our cell should be just the basic, just has a title, and that's what we're going to store in our table. Let's go ahead and save that and create our Apple view controller. So I'm going to select the OETC12 folder, file new file. And it's also going to be UI view controller subclass. Go ahead and click next. Our subclass is going to be UI table view controller, and we'll call it Apple News View Controller. And click next and create, and it creates our classes for us. So here, drag it up top here. I like to keep some of these separated and together, so let's go ahead and go inside of our H class, our H file. In our H file, we have to create some standard variables. And we're actually going to do all the XML parsing or RSS parsing inside of our .m file. So we're going to create some variables. And because this class is going to parse XML, we have to add the NSXML parser delegate to the class, so it knows that this class is going to handle parsing out XML stuff from our RSS feeds. So you see we'll have we're going to create an Apple News array, and each item from the RSS feed is going to be stored in this item dictionary. We're going to go through, and just like our other classes, we're going to create properties for each one of these. Once again, this is all for your backwards compatibility. We have to add those in there so we know what items are retained when we start talking in regards to memory management. But since we're using iOS 5, it is actually going to keep track of all of our automatic reference counting for us. So let's go ahead and save that. We go in our .m file. Just like the previous classes, we're going to do a synthesize on all the variables we created, and those create our setters and getters. And I've got some code here that I'm going to copy and paste that's going to take care of all of our XML parsing. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in right here. You see here we've got all of our XML parsing methods. It's going to go through. I can go through each one if you'd like later on down the road, but this is literally copy and paste. And once again, all this code is up on GitHub, so you can get the source and kind of go walk through it yourself. To create your own app. So in our view did load, we have to pass in the actual RSS feed that we want to parse out. So we're saying in the Apple News array, we're going to check and see if it's empty. If it's empty, we're going to go ahead and create this path. It's going to grab our RSS feed from Apple and use the self-contained method to parse our XML file at URL defined by this path string and pass it into our parse XML file at URL, which starts the XML processing. And if you look here in our parse XML file at URL, we are taking that string and create an SURL and setting the contents of that to our RSS parser, which is going to go out and pull the RSS URL, and we're going to call the parse function inside the XML methods, and it goes through and parses it all out by each item, pulls out the items, and sets it to our Apple News array. So in our table view, we have a number of sections in table view, and we know it's just going to be one section. So we're going to go ahead and set this to 1. And here we actually don't know the size of our RSS feed. So what we're going to do is return the count on our Apple News array. So, or size, so to speak. We're going to take our Apple News count and return that. Okay. Get rid of some of these other functions we don't need. And here we're going to create what each cell should look like or hold. If you notice the cell identifier, we named it Apple cell. So let's go here and make that change. And in our cell, we are going to pull out the title from our Apple News array. Copy and paste. So we're pulling the current index path and creating that as an index or an integer file of where we are in our array. And we're going to set the text label to the current index and pull the title out of our array or dictionary. With that, we want to do something once that cell is selected. We're going to end up creating another view, a detail view controller. But before we do that, let's go ahead and define what's going to happen when we select an item in that table. So once again, we're going to pull the current index path, convert that to an integer to pull out our array. Go and paste here. We have detail view controller, which we will create here in a little bit, and we're gonna pull the title based on the index path. And we're going to set a couple things inside our detail view controller. Here we're setting the label and the text and the link. And we're going to programmatically create our push segue event right inside our code here. So we've got that, but you notice we've got errors here because our detail view controller is not created. So let's go ahead and create our detail view controller. Alright, we'll click on the OETC12 folder and go File, New File. And there's also going to be a subclass of our UI view controller. Click Next. And this is not going to be a table view. It's actually going to be just a regular view, and we'll define that here in the storyboard in just a little bit. We're going to name it Detail View Controller. Click Next. Create. In our .h file, there's a couple things we're going to do here. Once again, I'll create the view and storyboard, but we're going to have a couple outlets. Because we want to push out via our previous code an outlet with a label and a text view.